All right, Michael Swisher with John Hardaway here for Squirtle as we wrap up the Class A and B state championship games as we sit inside an emptying State Fair Arena. It was obviously much more full for the last several hours as we have crowned the first four state champions of the 2017 season. As I said, here at State Fair Arena, we're going to just kind of go quickly through today's title games. Mostly went down as we thought it would. One big surprise, and that's going to be the one that we start off with, and that will be the Class B girls, as Kremlin Hillsdale, number 3 Kremlin Hillsdale, upsets number 1 Lomega 53-45, denies the Lady Raiders a third straight state championship. Instead, Tanagag brings a title to Kremlin Hillsdale with the upset win. And when you watch the game, it was Lomega had that 10-point lead in the third quarter. No panic for Kremlin Hillsdale. They've been in those kinds of games with Lomega before. And in the end, it was the Lady Bronx making the plays at the end.
Yeah, there were three things for me in that game. One, I thought Kremlin played really good defense throughout the game, which is to be expected with their zone. The second thing was Kremlin made their free throws. I think we have them 24-28.
24-28
And then the third thing was Lomega girls, and you had to do with their defense too, from Kremlin, was cold three-point shooting. They rely on the three. What do we have, 1 of 17?
1 of 17 in the second half.
In the second half. And so I think those three factors there in the second half, you talk about overcoming a 10-point deficit.
Yeah.
That was the deciding factor in the second half. And like you said, playing those close games, I think early in the year, allowed Kremlin not to hit the panic button in the second half in the big house against Lomega, which a lot of teams, that would be a tall task for them. And credit to Kremlin and coach, for overcoming that. So
usually in those games, Lomega gets that 10-point lead, and then boom, before you know it, it's a 20-point deficit. It went the opposite direction for Kremlin Hillsdale. And you mentioned the three-point shooting. Lomega finished 6 of 33, just 18%. As we said, 1 of 17, 6% during the second half, and I think 0 for in the fourth quarter as they just went ice cold. A 21-8 run in that fourth quarter for Kremlin Hillsdale. And Rebecca Wasson, we mentioned her, 15 points, 14 rebounds, a double-double. She was 8 of 8 from the line. Callie Rundle, 11 of 14 from the line. She finished with 16 points, a team high there for Lomega. Kinsey Lamer had 20 points, but she, as we said, she really struggled late to score. And so we have a new Class B girls state champion, and that was really our big surprise of the day. Our first game of the day was Class B boys. And not just a huge surprise there, as Calumet wins its 5th title, 63-54 over LaFleur. We said coming in to the tournament that really Class B was wide open, but I think in the end, kind of Calumet probably proved A, had the best player. B, probably had the best overall team, and that best player, Riley Island. 40 points in the state title game, not too shabby.
He'll be in the books forever. It was a great performance. He was sitting there around 30, and we kept saying with the foul situation, you knew the ball was going to be in his hands late. LaFleur was going to have to foul, and you knew when he was going to go to the line, he was going to cash those in. And so, that 40-point effort, it was very impressive. Besides his scoring, and I don't know how many threes he had, Swish, but
he had 7 of 14 from three-point
range. Which is
range.
Great. I was more impressed with his passing, his vision, and I watched most of the game from the baseline. You could see his passing. He was threading the needles, long passes, bounce passes, seeing those open teammates. And we talked about that some last night where, a team focuses so much on one person, and he still had 40 points.
Yeah.
But he gave his teammates a bunch of easy looks too, and he really controlled the game from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. Like I said, best player, best team. A lot of times that goes hand in hand, and credit to Calumet and Coach Mayfield.
Yeah, Jacob Mayfield winning a state title as a coach, has one as a player in 2001. But Riley Island had 8 assists, 7 rebounds to go along with his 40 points on top of yesterday's performance where he had a triple-double in the semifinals. So 102 points. I believe that ties him for 11th all-time as far as a single tournament with his 102 points in the 3 games. So not a bad tournament for Riley Island as Calumet picks up another state championship. And let's go now to the Class A. We'll start with the Class A girls. Again, not a big surprise here. 46-40, a Sealing repeat. Number 1 Sealing beats number 2 Okarche. So we kind of talked about this coming in. Is Kinsey Nieder 100%? I don't think she looked 100% out there. She didn't have her explosiveness, and Okarche kind of had its chances, but just didn't have that go-to scorer. And once Sealing was able to get that 6, 7, 8-point lead in the fourth quarter, spread Okarche out and made Okarche come get him, and it was pretty much a ball game
I didn't think it was as smooth as a game. I don't think either team played as well as they're capable of. And, last night we talked about some of those individual players and what they're capable of, and I don't know if we had any great individual performances. But, two teams that play in these types of environments a lot. In those situations, I mean, it was a close nip and tuck game throughout, and then at the end of it, I think, with Sealing with the Twins, they were able to control there at the end and kind of close out the game. So
Carly Gore goes to the bench with 2 or 3 fouls. I think 3 fouls there in the second quarter. And what was huge for Sealing is over that 3-minute stretch or so, able to keep the game tied going into halftime, and then had the 2-point lead going into the fourth quarter. Held Okarche to 18 points in the second half. But Carly Gore did finish with 8 points, 10 rebounds, just a bucket shy of, I think, of having 3 double-doubles here at the state tournament. Macy Gore with 12, Peyton Day with 10 points. Macy also with 8 assists, so a good day for her. Like you said, not the best game for either team, but I also think both teams' defenses had a lot to do.
And that's a great point, and Coach Trent talked about that last night. Both teams really defended their baskets the entire game from start to finish and made it really difficult. I mean, both teams had to earn it on their offensive end, and it wasn't pretty a lot of times. But Sealing got the job done at the end. So,
and look out for Sealing. I could not get Coach Hamer to stake his claim to it, but I mean, this is a young group, a young core, a lot of sophomores on this team. This could be the second of a potentially 3 or 4 state championship run. A lot of things got to happen. Winning 3 is not easy, as we saw with Omega today, but we did see it happen. As in the Class A boys title game that just wrapped up here, Fort Cobb Broxton 67, OK 52, as the Mustangs have won 3 in a row now in Class A, and just a special group for Coach Scott Hines. His son Cameron goes out with three state titles. Graydon Steinmetz, the youngest, I believe, in a long line of really good Steinmetzes. And despite what I said earlier, it is not Fort Cobb Brog on 2 different videos, so I apologize for that. Fort Cobb Broxton. It's been a long weekend, but when you've got 2 Hineses and Steinmetz, it's really not fair. And OK's a really good team.
They are.
And they lost by a combined 35 points the last 2 state title games to this Fort Cobb team.
Watching Fort Cobb, I kind of felt like, with those 3, with the 2 Hines brothers and Steinmetz, it's kind of like playing that team. It's a really good running football team. They just come at you and come at you and come at you and come at you, and it's consistent for 4 quarters. And, OK did a great job. I mean, they got great players. They're athletic. They play good defense, guys that can score. They're keeping it close. They're hanging around, but then it'd be 10, and then it'd go back to 6. Then it'd get up to 12 or 14. Then it'd go back to 8. Then it'd be back at 12. I mean, that's just the kind of game it is when you play Fort Cobb, because they've got those 3 guys that can handle the ball. They can score going downhill. They can find their open teammate when help gets there. They're a special group. I mean, they can really play. So,
and a big stretch in this game was 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. Fort Cobb's up 52-40 when Steinmetz picks up his 4th foul. And instead of OK closing the gap, when he comes back in about midway through the fourth quarter, it's 61-42. So they increased the gap to 19 points there, and OK just couldn't overcome it. Cameron Hines, 21 points, 10 rebounds for the guard. Graydon Steinmetz did finish with 13 points. Kellen Hines, a sophomore, he now has 2 titles, 17 points, 6 assists, 5 boards. And when you watch them, one thing that really impresses me, both Hineses, which it's what you're supposed to do, so I shouldn't be that impressed, but their head is up all the time. Their head is never down, looking down. And so they're always looking for that open teammate or the open shot, and it's just a really impressive
Very good,
group.
very talented team, no doubt.
All right, and Caleb Briggs did finish with 27 points for OK, which finished 7 of 26 from beyond the arc. So hit 7 threes, which is good, but then you look at Fort Cobb, 9 of 19.
And you think about timing of a lot of times too with really good teams. that OK bunch the last 2 years,
good enough to
if
win
there
it.
Wasn't a Fort Cobb, they've probably got back-to-back state championships.
A special Fort Cobb.
Exactly.
Like Coach Scott Hines said, you can coach a long time and not have a group like this, and it took a special group to knock out a really, really good OK group. So as we said, that wraps up week 1 of the OSSAA State Basketball Championships. Again, your state champions in Class B, the Kremlin-Hillsdale girls, Calumet boys, and in Class A, we had some repeats and a three-peat. It's the Sealing girls, and the Fort Cobb Broxton Mustangs. It's not that hard to say, but somehow I've managed to mess it up. And like I said, you're watching this on Squirtle. If you don't have the Squirtle app downloaded, go out and do that. Not only just use it, but take part in it. That's the great thing about it. You not only can use it to catch up on scores, but you can be the one in charge of the content.
That's right, exactly. That's
so
exactly right.
lots of things on the Squirtle app. It is ever evolving and ever improving.
Looking forward to next week.
Yep, it's gonna.
More basketball.
This is the easy week. It's 40 teams next week, so it's a heck of a day, or I should say, a heck of a weekend to close it out, as we have 2A through 6A. A lot going on in Oklahoma City and Tulsa. Thanks to Coach John Hardaway, and we'll see you next week. My name is Michael Swisher for Squirtle. We'll see you next week at State Fair Arena.